Buenos nachos. Buenos nachos. Buenos nachos. What it is, what it was, and what it shall be. What's going on, everybody? This is your boy, Dr. Will Rogers, a.k.a. Master Teacher 33. And today is Thursday, February the 24th, 2022. Time is 1:15 Central. As always, brothers and sisters of the powerful message, we're going to talk about the science of sadness today. Today we want to really get behind the awareness of sadness, because a lot of people, talk about like grief and depression, but you don't hear too much information about sadness, which is the first thing that happens before you get into depression and grief, some of the other things that's talked about a lot by the dominant culture. So sadness, again, is an extremely important topic, because when we talk about sadness, we're talking about a loss of self. So this is the science of self. So they want to really delve into the science of sadness, because when we talk about sadness, we're really talking about the devaluation of the self. So everything else is whenever sadness arises and it goes unchecked, that leads to grief and depression and some of the other emotional states that we exhibit and that we have. So they want to talk about, how your sadness works, not only the psychology and the chemistry or the biochemistry behind but we want to get into the metaphysics of the spirituality of what we call, sadness. So at the end of the day, at the beginning of the day, sadness is a loss of perceived value. Let me say that again, because, I got a little experience on this topic. All my life I've been sad. I could say, actually, when you look at the science of sadness, I've came out of sadness and depression and, chronic stress, and the show that I talked about a few days ago when we looked at, the health effects of low socioeconomic status. I really didn't know that that's what I was suffering from over the last 40 years or so. We broke this down yesterday as well, when we broke down and really delved into the 28-day reverse aging challenge, and we looked at the chemistry behind producing and why I do what I do, because I really believe, honestly, that is the only way chemically and psychologically that I've been able to exist, because I've been unknowingly in a state of not only aging, but also depression and grief, chronic. But it all started off with prolonged sadness. And the reason why I do the longevity challenge, and the reason why that's a part of my rotation, is because my body is able to produce the 7 frequencies, waves of vibrations that we talked about yesterday, to get me out of a devaluation of self because of a loss of self. Sadness is when you have a perceived loss of something that belongs to you. Sadness is unique to the individual self. Sadness is one of the only things that chemically and also psychologically cannot be grouped into a specific, diagnosis. You cannot throw a blanket out and say, this is sadness. Because sadness is a unique lowering and a unique increasing of cortisol, because the chemical that's needed for happiness is serotonin. The chemical that is devoid during sadness is serotonin. So even when we talked about the 3 reasons why spiritual light workers struggle financially, and we talked about that, last night, that the reason why people struggle financially is because of the frequency and the wave and the verb of the vibration of sadness. The reason why people have difficulty building muscle and burning fat is because they can't get into a state of ketosis and autophagy in order to produce high human growth hormones and insulin reduction that activates your immune system, pumps out more white blood cells, releases brand new stem cells, and causes the body to actually stop your telomeres from unraveling, which leads to longevity, which is the reason why I do the rotation and the detox that I'm on right now, and why I share this information with everybody, because I grew up as a very sad kid. I wasn't depressed because I hadn't been around long enough, but I didn't understand that sadness arises when the mind perceives a loss of self. Because when you feel like when my mother died when I was little, I feel like my mom belonged to me personally. Even though I had siblings, brothers and sisters, it was like my mom was my personal ambassador. Like I didn't have nobody that go to bat for me. I just knew that my mom was the only person, but even that was fractured with all of the stuff that I perceived that went on between Sister X and us, because I thought my mom would interject. And so I've been a sad individual pretty much all my life, which is why I sought out coping mechanism, which is why I did so much, promiscuity. Thankfully, by the grace and mercy of the big G, I never got into drugs and alcohol, because that probably, with my personality, that wouldn't have went well, because I'm such an extreme person. And so sadness is something lowers your worth and your value. That's sadness. Now, I have to be really clear, because there are a lot of people walking around that are clinically diagnosed with depression, and they're not depressed. They are suffering from a loss of personal characteristics and attributes that personally belong to them. See, when you perceive yourself as flawed or worthless, or when you're around, what if you're married to someone? What if you're in a relationship? What if you're on a job where you are devalued? Sadness is, psychologically, it is a devaluation of the self. That's sadness. And scientifically, when we look at the science behind sadness, it is a decrease in serotonin levels, where your serotonin levels drop to a place where you create a chemical imbalance inside of the brain. And that then causes the brain to try to adjust and try to assist you with the sadness. And so even something as seasonal affectiveness or affective disorder, SAD, which is actually a psychological term that's given to people who were or used to be like myself. But a lot of people say it's seasonal. Like right now, it's raining and it's cloudy. And I even noticed myself, like I could not live in, let's say, Alaska or some place where I couldn't see the sun. Sunlight does something for me. Well, it's been scientifically proven that the sunlight disrupts, or a lack of sunlight leads to what is called depression. But everybody immediately goes to depression. Everybody just automatically skips over sadness. Most people who are clinically diagnosed with depression, they're not depressed, they're sad. Because sad is just your own individual worth and value is being lowered. I know a lot of women that's in marriages and they're sad. The reason they're sad because their husbands don't see their worth and their value. I know, because I'm a retired, not seeing worth value in women, if that's a word. So the biggest mistake that I made, not only in my first marriage, but also I started out the same thing in my second marriage, which is the reason why I left 4 times in my second marriage and did it 25 times in my first marriage. Why? I could not see value. It's not that it wasn't there. Let me be crystal clear. It was always there. But how come I couldn't perceive it? Because I was looking for, and I was judging people's worth and value based upon my needs and not theirs. Meaning, we all, and this gets into the love language, the book talks about the love languages. I tell you, in my relationship, the thing that changed my relationship was when I stopped expecting my wife to tell me and communicate creatively with me, because that's my love language. I'm a talker. Well, my wife's a forward. She's a doer. So my wife was buying me name brand stuff, and I would go to Dollar General and buy, and my kids would joke and laugh. All my clothes come from Dollar General. I go to Dollar General and buy me a pair of khaki pants in a minute. So now I have a nice watch. Do you know that everything I have that's name brand, my wife has bought for me? All my children has given to me? I can't remember the last time I've even bought underwear. It's been at least 10, 15 years that I've personally went to the store myself. Why? That shit is not valuable to me. I got like all kind of name brand. I go somewhere and people ask me, damn, Doc, what's that cologne you got? I look to my wife, I don't know. Why? Because the way what I value is different. It doesn't make it better. It makes us different. We're different. But we have the ability, we do it in religion. I'm a Christian and you're a Muslim, so what I do, I devalue you. Could you imagine if there was no labels, if there was no titles, if there was no races, if there was no religions, if everybody just had child of God? That's it. That's the only thing you can be. You can't be nothing else. You can somebody, who are you? I'm a child of God. What if? Do you know all division, all racism, all classism, all spiritualism, all that shit would decease. It wouldn't exist any longer. That's sadness. Sadness is when someone, because they are wired differently, ain't this not better? It's different. I hope to God that one day we get to a place where we can see that ain't nobody better than nobody else. Everybody's just different. So awareness of sadness is number one. All my life, I was suicidal, man. I mean, when I came out of the stuff, I was, what we call depressed. I wasn't depressed because sadness is two things. You might want to write this down. Now, I talk about this a lot. Now, remember, whenever you are disappointed and dejected, the next thing that happens to you chemically, the brain. Now, this is the science. Let's get a little bit into the biology or the science, if you will, of sadness. So serotonin is the most important chemical that is released by the brain. It controls arousal, mood, and appetite. So the brain's chemistry is triggered. There is an increase of activity in the frontal lobe, and I think it's the right frontal lobe of the brain. But specifically, it is the left thalamus of the amygdala and the hippocampus. Now, we talk about that because in the Bible, the hippocampus, that is, you can never find a picture of Moses or a statue of Moses without horns coming out of his head. All in the ancient text. Now, New Age, after your boy Constantine stripped and raped the Bible. Okay, now you find whatever. But remember, I don't do nothing that's 1611 after. I never read or study any religious text that was written after 1611. So I got a totally different worldview than you. So you got to understand where I'm coming from. So I'm not coming from what the literature that you read or people, other people. So my literature goes way before. I go all the way back. I go back 13, 14, 15. Because after that, that's when it got corrupted by your boy Constantine and the Council of Nicaea. Another study for another time. But way back then, all of the pictures of Moses, he has horns. And I was like, why Moses got horns on his head? Well, they was depicting a biological thing called the Amon's horn inside the brain. That's why we get the word, that's why we say amen. That's what it's talking about. That's why when you talk about Amun-Ra from Egyptology, it ain't got shit to do with no dude walking around. I told you everything that you think and believe is a biological process. Unfortunately, y'all got belief systems. So Amon's horn is another name for the hippocampus. And the hippocampus is made up of three things. It's called the CA1, CA2, and the CA3. That's where you process, send, and receive all of your quote-unquote beliefs. If I damage your hippocampus right now, you'll wake up tomorrow with what we call amnesia. You won't know. No. Now, who are you without your belief system? Think, please. Think. If you have amnesia, please, can you tell me you don't know your name? You don't know your race? You don't know what is a black person. You don't even know what that is. You don't even know how to walk. You gotta relearn everything that you learn. See, we're nothing but we're nothing but our senses. So who are you without your senses? If I take away your 5 senses, who are you? See, we don't want to talk about that. Why? Okay, the average guy keeping on ain't never even thought that. See, this is all I study. I'm a truthologist. I don't really care what it is or who started it. All I know is I'm interested in the, not a. There's a big difference between the truth and a truth. So if you go all the way back, biologically, that word is called cornucopia. Biologically, it's called cornu aminus. So this is where what they call amnesic mild cognitive impairment. That's the psychological term for sadness. It attacks the region and it brings about a degeneration in cognitive abilities, which is what they call psychologically cognitive impairment. So sadness is cognitive impairment. Now, if you're a high vibration, like keep it on, you got to follow me because you may want to ask yourself, okay, Doc, that sounds great, but what is cognitive impairment, aka what the Bible calls in James 1:8, a double-minded man? He can't receive jack shit. That's why most Christians are poor because they're sad because they know that they're not doing what they're supposed to do. That's why I tell you guys, I am not a moral man. I don't do morality. I do causality. See, the difference between me and most people is I know that the chemical imbalances in the brain has a cause. Most people don't know that. Most people don't understand that life is about causality. It's not about reality. Everybody I know, they talk about reality. That's called religion. So religion is reality. What causes religion? What is the internal mental process inside the brain that brings about what causes perception? Now, you perceive, you call it the Devalue system. You perceive it, though. How? You think. How? You got memories. How? You got attention. How? You got language. How? You got problem-solving abilities. How? How did you get that? That's cognitive psychology. That's what I do all day. So I understand that cognition and cognitive comes from a cog, which means will, mission, that means to ignite. That's why I do the life optimization will. That's what this is called, willpower. That's why my name is Will. So if we don't overstand, that's why the Native Americans, they have their will, the medicine will. So sadness is a devaluation of your perceived value. Whether that value that you perceive is real or not, that is another study for another time. So could you imagine if you perceive, let's say you believe in Buddhism, and you have a sacred statue of a guy with a big belly, and I come over there, you've been raised Buddhist, you was raised in a monastery, you're a monk, and all your life you've been studying Buddhism. And you've never been to the West. You was born in wherever Buddhism is at. You have a Buddhist worldview. So your, what they call human roadmap, your whole worldview, your cognitive behavior therapy, your CPT, is based upon Buddhism. Because your roadmap, your brain is hardwired because you frequently repeated something that gave you an emotional response that creates a neural net in the brain. Anything that is frequently repeated, like when you go to church and you worship, you do it every Sunday. That's why they want you to go. That's why they don't want you to miss Bible study. That's what the preacher calls you. Hey, where you at, dog? It's Wednesday. We ain't see you. We miss you, bruh. Why? In order to rewire the brain. Now, this you can go to CIA's website. How do you wash somebody's brain? How do you brainwash somebody? It got to be rapido. That's why you got a reptilian. Rapido means repetition. So if you are a Buddhist and you was raised a Buddhist all your life, if I disrespect, if I devalue a statue of Buddha, you're going to have a serious problem. In fact, you are going to be amped because you are sad. Now, to me, I'm not a Buddhist. If I saw a statue of Buddha, it does nothing for me. Yet somebody else will put a bullet in your head if you disrespect Buddha. That's sadness. Sadness is really crazy. Do you know that somebody was sad after the Super Bowl? Super Bowl is a game. Two teams, the Los Angeles Rams and the Cincinnati Bengals played. A lot of people put a lot of money on the game. To me, it was just a game. Well, you saw Odell Beckham after the game. They made memes after him. He was crying like a newborn. He was happy. But then they showed the other team, Cincinnati Bengals, that was the guy sitting on the bench. He was crying like a newborn. He was sad. Why was he sad? Because the Super Bowl represents a part of himself. So sadness is a loss of self. It's not a loss of things. So the reason that I wasn't sad when Shamora died, I was disappointed. I would love for Shamora to be right here walking around. I know she's here spiritually, but I know physically my 19-year-old daughter is not here. So sadness arises when the mind perceives a loss of self. So we got to find out what the hell is a loss of self. See, first of all, what is the self? Do you guys know that every show I tell everybody, most light workers are struggling financially because they don't have a proper self. Why? Your self-worth determines your net worth. Damn. That's why I didn't start making no money until I got out of Christianity. Because my self-worth came from Christianity. It did not come from my identity. You can't be born a Christian because that's a belief. A belief system is something that you pick up. Your identity is something that is innate. It's not something that you learn. So everybody, 90% of the people, they don't have the ability. They have an identity crisis. They got an identity. When I see somebody in Groundhog's Day, I talk about Groundhog's Day a lot. I do this for a living. When I do a counseling session, the first thing I ask somebody, who are you? I have not. I've been doing this shit for 20 plus years. I've never had one person, and I'm talking about high end all the way down to homeless. I've never had one person doing a consultation that can tell me who they are. They tell me what they do, but they tell me who they're being, but they can't really tell me who they are. Can you? That's why you're sad. Sadness means that you have assimilated something into your identity that is not yours. Remember sadness? What is sadness? Unrealistic expectations, misplaced dependencies. You're sad. Why? You got unrealistic expectations. So if you're a woman and you married, you expect your husband to come home and do something. Who told you that? What is marriage? Age? You don't want me to break it down. So we're going to keep moving. But why? That's a belief system. Who started it? Where did it come from? See, we don't really, nobody that, well, actually, let me rephrase that. Let me back up. Very few people examine the frame. Everybody looks at, oh, that's a beautiful picture. I go to your house, I say, oh, that's a beautiful picture of you and your little shearings. But when I go to your house, I don't look at the picture of you and your little shearings. I look at the frame, and I'm like, damn, that's a dusty-ass frame. These fools don't never dust. They don't clean. Everybody, well, not everybody, a lot of people, they don't notice the frame. See, I'm born in September. I don't see what other people see. That's what made me a good cop. This is what kept my ass out of prison. This is how I got out of Richmond. I knew something was going to pop out. I remember when me and my, well, I can't say no names, but little dudes I was running around with, most of the dudes I ran around with in Richmond, they dead or in prison. How did I get out? How did I get out? Well, one day when we really did something really stupid, I was like, man, I can't do it. They called me punk and low and lazy and blah and all other words. And I was like, I ain't doing it, man. I got punched in the chest, but guess what? When Captain Brown came over to the house, yeah, we're looking for, they put my ass in that lineup. They didn't identify me because I wasn't there. Because that wasn't a part of my self-identity. My mama didn't raise me like that, man. So, unfortunately, we have a serious problem, especially inside of I'll keep it on community, black folks. No, everybody do, but especially us because we don't got a country. We are the only race, even though there's no such thing, but we're the only frequencies that don't have a home. Japanese, we know. Chinese, Italians, French. Black man, where are you going to go back to? That's why you can shoot a black man in the back. His country is not going to come and represent him because he don't got one. Now you shoot an Oriental in the back. The ambassador of Japan is going to call the ambassador of the United States and say, hey, hold on, one of our citizens shoot a black man in the back. What happens? See, we don't have no identity. There's an identity crisis. So sadness is the result of a identity crisis. That's when you begin sad. And sadness that is held on for a long period of time, that becomes depression. You don't start off depressed. No, you start off just when you have a loss of your self-worth. So a loss of value, devaluation. So let me make sure y'all understand. I'm driving and I'm black. A cop pulled me over. I'm not doing running on. That shit devalues me, man. That makes me sad. Because I know that somebody getting robbed, raped somewhere else, and he pulling me over for driving while black. I saw a video, I think it was on TikTok, where a black man comes into the bank. Immediately, the bank manager called the cops. Go up there and said that the dude was preventing him a fraudulent check. The dude walked in and said, man, this is a real check. They called him into the bank office. They called the cops put him in handcuffs. Long story short, they run the check, they check everything. Everything the black man saying is true. They just immediately, as soon as he walked in, and he was a young dude, you know what he said? Shit makes me sad, man. Why? Because they devaluing him as a human. That's the shit white folks don't get. White folks disrespect black people every day, and they don't have a freaking clue. You disrespect us every day. I mean, not you on a car, but them other white folks y'all know. And that's the problem when it comes to why, especially black folks, are sad. And so if you're black and you sad, you can't make money. Why? Money is repelled by low frequencies. Money is attracted to high frequency. Money is attracted to confidence. So this is why most spiritually people come. Remember, if you go to, like I did, I just sit in the church, they say, you're going to die, you're going to go to hell. If you don't accept it right now, you better not walk out this church unless you yourself say, damn, okay. Y'all know how many times I got saved? Shit, I lost count. I mean, we used to get baptized all the time. And I said, Mama, why are we getting baptized? Yeah, man, every time we had the damn tub out, we had to go get baptized. You know what that does to a kid? Well, I don't know about you. You know what it did to me? Now, other people, because other people are not sensitive. See, I'm an empath. So I pick up shit that other people don't. So stuff affects me way more. Now, I don't show it. I've learned over the years how to act hard. So that's how I can work in a Supermax prison and go home every day. But see, sadness is number one, you are disappointed. But the reason that you are disappointed, that nobody is probably telling you, especially my beautiful Alkebulan sisters, a lot of black women are disappointed. Why? They have unrealistic expectations. Now, it's sad because most black women have been set up by the dominant culture. Well, come on over and get this public housing. You can't have a man, though. If you want these food stamps, if you wanted to get on this Section 8 voucher, now you ain't got to pay no. I know somebody right now pays $8 a month. $8 a month in rent. Get something like $600, or one of my clients, $600 in food stamps. Got 3 kids from 3 different men. This is one of the saddest people I know. She got a man. She sneaks him in, but she lives with a low social economic feeling. So money is a feeling. And she wonders why she broke. She works 2 jobs. And she got a surprisingly, which shit's crazy as sliced bread, she got a dude. She treat him like trash. And this dude said, tell me, hey, Brother Will, I don't know, what am I doing wrong, brother? I say, unfortunately, she hates herself. It's not about you. He was telling me about an incident at a fast food restaurant where she cursed him out in front of everybody. She's sad. Why she's sad? She has unrealistic expectations. What is she expecting to happen? She knows that if she takes him in, she really likes the dude. Because when we do our one-on-one, she tells me, I like him, I love him, I want to marry him, but I said, well, she wants him? I got to give up. She married to the government. She already got a man. She just don't know it. Now, I have a lot of clients that are also Christians. They single. You know what they tell me? They tell me they don't really need a man. They say they married to Jesus. These are the literally words that people have told me out of their mouth. They said they met. I said, damn, how that work? But Jesus is my husband. I'm like, really? Jesus dropping it like that? And I know that they have an identity crisis. They lie. Now, remember, they said this to themselves so many times that they actually believe. Now, see, you can lie to other people, but never lie to yourself. This is how you become delusional. I mean, not you personally, but, people you know. Sadness, the science of sadness, means that you are self-deluded. How do I know? What you think? Where y'all think I got this from? Y'all think I just made this shit up? I didn't read this in no book. I had to analyze I had to be my own therapist. So if I went to a therapist, you know what they said? Give that fool some Ritalin, give him some of this, and then I told you guys about that when I went to University of Texas at the Health Science Center. They said I had bipolar 4. There's only 3 levels of bipolar at the time. 3. They said that my brain, they put me on a freaking machine, and they said, we will pay you $10,000 if you stay here and let us analyze your brain, because we cannot figure out how you are not dead and not in prison. And we cannot figure out how you're not in your brain is exhibiting a constant state of a seizure, meaning that my brain has the same thing that my son BJ and my daughter Shamora had. They both had seizures. But for some reason or other, I have the ability, given to me by source code, I'm assuming, that they call it a mind storm. My brain is firing electrodes involuntarily, just like out of the day. So my brain doesn't, this is why I don't sleep. So my brain doesn't quiet like everybody else's. So when you go into meditation, your brain quiets down. It stops firing electricity. Mine doesn't. Now, I've known this for years. It's not like it's nothing new. But when I went to the therapist, and there was this lady, I'll never forget her, man. She had one of the prettiest, she had some really, really green eyes. She was from Brazil. They brought in this specialist, and I remember Because my wife at the time, which is not my ex-wife, they, told her like, she been exhibiting any, unusual behaviors. My ex-wife, she used to write everything down. She got a journal. She said, well, what do you call, extracurricular behaviors? What's the point? All of that's caused, if you want to use that term. Because remember, all chemical imbalances are caused. There's an event that triggers. So nobody talks about the triggers that causes the chemical imbalances in the brain that creates all of the mental processes or the mental problems that people have. This is how sadness works. Sadness, remember, depression is just extended sadness when it goes on. But that chemical imbalance in your brain is caused by unrealistic expectations and misplaced. This is what Groundhog's Day is. You got it, but you misplaced it. It's misplaced dependency. So you're depending upon someone else to do for you what you should do for yourself. Misplaced to say, oh, you know how many people I know? When I start my counseling sessions, this. I already know what the problem is before we even start. You can't tell people their problem. They got to find it on their own. The great thing about the type of therapy that I do is I never tell people their answers. They got to find it. If they never find it, I never tell it. Why? You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. You can show somebody the door, but you cannot open it for them. This is the problem that most women do for their sons. That's why we got all these feminized males out here. Mothers do too much shit for their sons. And now it's unfortunate because they think they're helping, but you are an enabler. My first wife wasn't an enabler. What does it mean? That means that my behavior, I don't know, it just made it. It's like criminals. When you talk to a criminal and they see weak people enable bullies. That's why even if you don't get your ass whooped, stand up to the bully. That's why I have I wish a Negro would disposition. Because I learned this in Richmond. So thankfully I learned it at 13. Some people, they never learned this. What are you saying, Doc? You feel disappointed and dejected. That you are disappointed and you are not, obviously you, not you personally, but, people you know. So this disappointment, it could be anything. It could be Super Bowl. You disappointed because your team, it could be your girl left or your girl stayed. Your man left or he stayed. Your job fired you. Do you know it could be the fact that you got a picnic planned and you go outside and it's raining. You're disappointed. And you are dejected. The brain doesn't know that it's I'm out of brain. I don't want you to shut down. So the brain says, oh snap, we got to save him from him. Shut down all systems. You just, disappointed and dejected because you had a picnic plan for, your kids and it's Saturday. You've been planning all week and now it's raining and it's cold and so you got to cancel because it was an outside event. You got to do it inside. You got to do something else. But the brain doesn't know that. The brain doesn't know that you got another option. So what the brain says is you've lost something that's a part of yourself. So anytime you experience a loss of self, the brain increases the activity in the amygdala and hypothalamus, which is the hippocampus, which is linked to memory. And so what the brain does is it goes and it finds more memories. And it gives you a sense of awareness that these sad memories make you feel more sad. So it triggers a specific hormone that also makes you cry. So you don't cry unless there's cortisol, the stress hormone inside of the body. You cannot, that activates the tear ducts. So this hormone that is released, then you activate another hormone called oxytocin, which most people know that as a hormone for love. It's also the hormone whenever you have an extreme emotion that comes from what you and I call sadness, which is what? A loss of valuation. So everybody evaluates themselves. And anytime there is a devaluation of what you value, you get sad. If you're a Christian, and a lot of my shows are not warm and fuzzy, then you probably shouldn't listen to my shows, because you will leave with a sense or a feeling of the devaluation of the self. So my job, I'm a truthologist. So all I do is I research facts, if you want to use that term, history. Now, can history be forged, changed, manipulated? Yes. In fact, most of it has. That's why you got to do multiple channels. And you got to always examine whatever it is that you believe. I'm always trying to prove myself wrong, because I know all of what I've uncovered goes against the norm. But that kind of goes with the norm, because the norm says broad is the road that leads to destruction, narrow is the road that leads to right standing, which is what the word righteousness means. So righteousness means you are standing in the right place. This is what is called the science of self. So everybody on this call, you have a self map. I gave it to you. Now, a lot of people have self maps out there. You know, some people just do a simple personality test. Some people get real deep. Remember the DISC system I told you guys did? And remember when I was winning the FPO, when I became a federal police officer when I was in New Mexico, we had to go through some training in glycos. Then we had to also go to Quantico, where the FBI trains at. And then we had to do the MMI. And remember I told you guys I went to the whole psych test with the MMI, and it came up that everything I passed, everything was good except my compassion showed up. It said that on my psych test, what I had to fight in order to become an FPO is that in extreme, if someone put a gun on me, I wouldn't shoot. Which is probably kind of true, because I figure I can disarm you. It's crazy. That MMPI, if y'all never taken the MMPI, man, you should take it. That's the MMPI test is crazy. It knows, I mean, I don't know, it's called the Minnesota multi-something, I forgot the name of it, personality inventory. All law enforcement, FBI, psychs, when you go to the crazy house, that's what they give you to see if you're really crazy. That MMPI is very difficult. If you got mental health disorder, then when I tell you I went to the University of Texas Health Science Center, bam, that's what they did to me. There, they gave me the MMPI. Now they didn't know that I'd already taken it like 3 times already. I took it in the Marines Corps because I was trying to go to Special Forces. So to go to be a Navy SEAL, to become what we call Force Recon, in the Marine Corps they call it Force Recon. You have to take the MMPI. And on all of my tests, the same thing pops up. Dr. Spann, if you took it right now, Dr. Spann, I guarantee you the same flag that flagged me will flag, because all 6s, we have the same flaw. Remember, it's a gift, but like I learned in the prison, the inmates, they don't use your weakness against you. They use your strength against you. But most people's weakness and their strength is exactly the same thing. And what is it? It's your life path number. That's your loss of self. Anytime I feel sad, it's because of that. So I already know it, so I do not allow myself to do that. Because I already know how the devil works. My money stops coming anytime I have a loss of self. What is a loss of self? What is your life path number? Your life path number is yourself. It's not your religion. It's not your race. None of the other shit about that. None of that means anything when it comes to psychology. Now, I'm talking about biology. What causes chemicals in the brain to be released? That's what I'm talking about. Now, whether you like your brain or whether you believe this or not, all I know is, it's like if you go through, if it's the middle of the night and you walk past a freaking graveyard and some red light starts flashing from the graveyard and it's pitch black dark, I guarantee you will have a sense of adrenaline. Why? Biology. You got to call. What caused it though? You see some spooky shit over there in the graveyard. Now you didn't really want to, but nobody. I don't know. Nobody wants to go to a graveyard at 12 o'clock at night, unless you're one of those, other people. So that's how we work. Our brain chemistry, it increases and decreases by what we call stimuli. So it's stimulus. Well, sadness increases by a certain stimulus. And the stimulus that increases sadness is whenever something that belongs to yourself, you feel like it is lowered, it is disrespected, or it is totally lost. Do you guys remember that cartoon? It was a cartoon called, what was it called? What was the name of that cartoon? Remember Inside Out? I don't know if y'all remember that one. It's kind of like, the other one, Osmosis Jones. Osmosis Jones, the old cartoon, and it was talking about what goes on inside the human body. Well, that was an old cartoon that was called Inside Out. And it was talking about how sadness and happiness, and there was this lady, and remember, these were all chemicals in the brain. It is crazy because that film, Inside Out, it's a cartoon, but they was talking about storing happy memories and storing bad. And remember, there was 5 characters in the movie: joy, sadness, fear, anger, and disgust. If you get a chance, you should go back and watch it. Joy, and remember the angry dude, he was a little dude, and he would get, he just was angry all the time. Well, that's how we all work. So we're specifically talking about the one part of the brain that controls sadness. And that part of the brain, sadness, is activated immediately whenever the neuroscience, which simply means the neurons are stimulated, that brings about a reduction in the ability for the body to control what is called cortisol. Everybody has what they call a sadness circuit inside of the body. We're not going to even get into that. But it's activated whenever there is a feeling. It doesn't have to be real. It has to be a perception. So now we got to break down one of the hardest things to break down. It's not hard because it's difficult. It's hard because we don't really look at the chemistry behind depression or sadness. We live in an environment now where I can pick up my phone and I can go from normal to ecstatic just by Facebook. So your brain has neurotransmitters. One is called ACH, the other one is serotonin, then the other one is GABA, G-A-B-A, and the other one is dopamine. That is the biological or the biology, if you want to use that term, of sadness. So these are called neurotransmitters. So whenever there's a brain wave that comes from your 5 senses, whenever there is a nutritional imbalance, whenever there is poor gut health or like leaky gut syndrome, it activates and creates what is called a chemical imbalance. Today, we're specifically talking about a specific chemical imbalance. The chemical imbalance that we're talking about tonight is called devaluation of self. So according to Harvard Medical School and all of the science, why would you devalue yourself? We all do it every day. We do it unknowingly, though. How do we do it? We put ourselves in positions that we cannot win. Like, if I go to the club and I see Halle Berry at the club, I'm going to walk up to Halle Berry and I'm going to try to get them digits. Now, I know that Halle Berry is probably used to hanging out with people like Kevin Hart Kevin Samuels talk about. You know, those high value Negroes. So now that really snowballs chance indeed that Halle Berry might give me them digits. But the chances of me getting it, now I'm setting my, what is the two? Unrealistic expectations, misplaced dependencies. But what if you my friend, and you know Halle Berry, and I tell you, hey, bro, go hook me up, dog. Give me them, hey, come on, man, put in the word for a brother. So now I'm placing my dependency on you. So you go over there and say, hey, I got my friend over here, and she look over there at me, and she's like, come on, man, how much that nigga worth? How much he worth? What kind of car he drive? Where he live at? What does he do? So now I put all of my eggs in your basket. I put the keys to my happiness in your pocket. Damn. That's the average out of Kivilon. So let me get this right. You got your keys. God gave them to you. You are a grown-ass man or woman. And you mean to tell me you put your keys to your happiness in somebody else's pocket? It could be your husband. It could be your wife. It's probably your supervisor on your job. So you mean to tell me your whole income is based on your job? So what happens if your job? Now, I just went through this with my son, B. Jolo, which is why he's in the Navy right now. So BJ had a great job. He's been there 5 years, was doing great. Bam, COVID-19 hit. They sent him home to work. Then they said, well, you know what? Man. And BJ was getting bonuses of like $5,000. Bonus money. He was doing great. I was so proud of him. He was like, Dad, I finally, he had 3 daughters. He was doing good. We helped him move and got him a house. He was renting, but, he got out of apartment life, so to speak. So my son, guess what happened? When he lost his job, you could see it on his face. I started having flashbacks. I'm like, damn. Because I remember that feeling of loving your family and not being able to provide for them. Ladies, if you got a man that's at least trying, damn, cut him some slack. Especially if he's black. So I had to tell my son, B. Jola, and I was helping him out, and we was talking back and forth. Because I was totally against him going into the military. But I also knew the benefits that comes from being in the military and how the Marine Corps saved my life. Like, what I was going to do come out of Richmond? Like, be for real. The only opportunity I had in Richmond was to go work at the Wendy's. I had already worked there and got fired. There were no opportunities. What I was going to do? Everybody else was either dead or on their way to prison. So the military, I'm not saying the military, so military, if you don't have any other options, not a bad option. But leading up to and the conversations that we had and breaking down what destroys a man's sense of worth and value. Ladies, I do not know if y'all know, men, we don't want love, we want respect. Men, women don't want respect, they want love. When I do my relationship counseling, they live with black couples, they live with black women, they be disrespecting their man. They have no clue. I remember when I first met my wife, I used to tell her, and she couldn't get it. I mean, when she used to tell me what she wanted, I couldn't get it. I didn't understand, like men, women, they just want to be number one. You want to save your marriage or your relationship? Make your woman the number one and the only woman in your life. See what happens. I don't care how she treats you. Watch how it changes. How do you make her feel? No matter if you got to be able to listen without judging. What does that mean? Don't offer no solutions. When my wife talk, I just say, yeah, 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 yeah. Now, I know what to do, but I ain't going to tell her. That's the worst thing you can do. What does that mean? That means that you're not validating. See, self is the ability to accept and confirm feelings, not change them. So when I do counseling, I'm talking to people because I got to change people's feelings. Why would, if I'm a therapist, and remember, I don't do therapy, I do the repo. That's all this is on my website. That's the spiritual counseling. So I don't, because the word therapist has the word the rapist in it. Therapist, look at the word, THERAPIST. So if you want to get emotionally and psychologically raped, you go see a therapist. So I don't do therapy. I do the repo. A little bit different. In fact, it's a big difference. Because what I do is, I know that everybody needs one thing. What is that? Everybody needs reassurance. But then we got to break that down, though. Because remember, all sadness comes from a loss of this. All sadness comes from a loss of what? When someone is sad, what they're saying to themselves is, I'm sorry, I'm ashamed, I'm disappointed, and I'm embarrassed. That's what sadness really means. Sadness really means that I feel something. Sadness is a feeling. But the feeling, remember, all feelings comes from thought. So I got to go find the thought. When I counsel people, I'm finding cause. I'm looking for causality. What causes the emotional imbalance? So when you understand the science of devaluation of the self, I don't think nobody will really wants to feel bad. Now, there's some people who do the reverse psychology stuff. Even like I even did to myself when I was a kid. Because I felt nobody loved me. So how can you love the self if nobody else loves you? Well, that's 18 and under. Everybody on this call, we're 18 and up. So counseling for 18 and under, which I remember I was counseling this one guy. Man, this was kind of bad too. He lost his wife's routine drive, got up. This actually happened in H-Town in Houston. Same drive she had to make for 12 years. Bam. She had an accident. She was gone. 3 kids. He was kind of like my situation. He met her with 3 kids when the kids was babies. As soon as she died, the biological father came in and took the kids, and the state allowed it. So I was hired, I was doing counseling for him, and then I was doing counseling for the kids. You're talking about rough. That was rough. But I already knew at the base, because at the base and at the core of all counseling is that you have to be able to put yourself in someone else's shoes. That's why I don't do substance abuse counseling. I've never abused any substances from the perspective of alcohol and drugs. So you will never see me, if I get someone who needs counseling for that type of assistance, I pass them on to someone else. Because I know that I don't have what I'm telling you. This is what, when people, we really want to know what like making a lot of money is. Money is just the ability to exchange feelings. If you really want to be wealthy, you got to think, what is my market? I mean, let's be honest. Even though this is a little bit off topic, but people are like, hey, man, I want to make a lot of money. You want to make a lot of money. People think making a lot of money is coming with a product. Making a lot of money is the marketing of the product. What is marketing? Marketing is, do you know your audience? See, I'm a truthologist. That's really what I do for a living. So what does that mean, though? How did I become a truthologist? I was raised in a cult. Now, you have to define a cult, though. Well, most people's definition of a cult is different from mine. But the biggest thing is, I saw things that as a child didn't make sense. I remember every Sunday I used to go to my grandmother's house, and my cousins used to come in from out there, and we used to meet up at Big Mama Frazier's house, and we would all have this, kind of like on Soul Food when they would meet up at things. We did that, but I noticed my grandmother would treat, different nephews and cousins different. Number one, they was out of town. Okay, I get it. But I noticed how she treated my sisters like they ate first. And I used to watch my sisters being there cooking and stuff and cleaning. And then my cousins coming from out of town and Big Mama would be like, we was like day slaves. So I used to take them Negroes in the back and we would fight like cats and dogs. Why? I was disrespected. I felt disrespected. I used to get in a lot of trouble because I was taking up for people for stuff that people didn't even know that I was perceiving. So I didn't like the fact that, my sisters was in there working like slaves. And then my cousins come over and Big Mama treated them like they were gods. Now, this is happening in my brain. Now, could I have been wrong? Could my perception have been off? Absolutely, because I was looking at it from a child's perspective. That's the same thing that money is. So money is a lack of perspective. What does that mean? Okay, do you know your audience? If you do, then what is it or what problem does your audience have? Have you ever stopped and asked yourself that? If you got a business, and if you are in business, people buy things that solve problems. So if you're in a health and fitness business, you should know that your audience, they want things that's going to help them with their health. If you're in real estate business, you should not be offering them things that do with health because they in real estate. They're interested in, like property valuation. They're interested in writing the contracts. So what we're talking about today is sadness. So in order for me to talk about sadness, I got to know my market. I got to know my audience. So my audience, if you're sad, what's going on? Well, it's really easy for me because, I spent 40 years being sad. I had to research this topic. So as a truthologist, I do not put myself in positions where my worth and value can be called into question. Meaning I tell you in every show, I got a $100,000 reward to anybody that can prove me wrong in the things that I discuss, especially when it comes to religion. Why? I was raised in religion. I lived my whole life in religion. I went to church every day. And then when I got older, I volunteered. I went back into religion. And went to New Mexico, started my own church. Brought people over, even though it was a little home church. We were saving up for money. We were doing the same thing, everything that I was taught. But what happened, though? I was sad. Why was I sad? I was doing things that was devaluing myself. Who is the self? Your self is your sales. Now, when I say your self is your sales, what I'm telling you is your self is your inner chi. That is your energy, ENERGY. This is called energy imprinting. So the energy is produced inside of the mitochondria DNA specifically. The mitochondria DNA means small organ. It produces ATP, which is the energy of the cell. That's you. So if you don't start there with the mitochondrial cell, the mitochondrial DNA, and understand what is a high energy electron that is passed on a specific chain inside of the body that requires what we call hydrogen, aka oxygen. So you should say, well, Doc, why do you start there? Because the kingdom of God is within. So if you want to win, you got to go within. So certain things produces high energy. Certain things that produces low energy. I posted a chart on my Facebook page yesterday. And now in that chart, you will see high energy and low energy. That's why I posted it. So there are certain things that make you feel. So yourself is easily identified to me because you get around certain people and your energy goes zoom. And then you get around other people, you're like, damn, there you go again. Yeah, you know. Why? See, your spirit doesn't lie. See, energy, I don't know people by their name. I know people by their energy. See, your energy shows up way before you do. So even though you're talking with your mouth, your energy is expressing something totally different. A lot of people. So I don't judge people by what they say and they do. I judge people by their energy. So when I worked in the prison, I knew who was the bad guy and who was the good guy because I knew everybody was overcompensating. I knew in the prison everybody was trying to be something that they was not, so that way nobody could see who they really are. Because then you might get pumped. Because it's the same thing growing up in the hood. So most of the niggas that act hard, they're not hard. They're mama boys. They gotta overcompensate. They gotta hide. So when you're doing that, you are devaluing yourself because you're not authentic. So it's real easy. If you don't know who you are, just notice what you do that excites you and what you do that doesn't. So this is how I knew what to do. When I started off doing health and fitness, I loved it. It was great. It was awesome. But after I worked out, came home, I got on the internet and I started researching, Council of Nicaea. Then I got out of that. What in the insurance? Man, I was one of the best sellers in insurance, man. I was blowing it up. I was doing like $1 million a month. I wish I was getting a percentage of all them real estate. Remember, I was licensed in freaking 48 states. I sold auto, home. I sold all types of insurance. I did flood. I sold everything except for aviation. My licenses alone were over when I left, just to keep my licenses, my insurance company had to pay over, it was like 100 and something thousand. Because remember, the license you got for each state. I was great. I was doing good. Quit 3 times and came back. Quitting and I said, I want to come back. Said, come on back. Mr. Waters, we still got your licenses and stuff. They was happy to get me back because I was making them so much money. But after I got off work, I came home, I got a computer, and I started researching, who's Charles Task Russell? What's the point? That's myself. See, the self is not something that you can escape. Yourself, that's what you do when you get off. That's who you really are. So what do you do when you go on vacation? So whatever you do when you are on vacation, that's what you should be doing right now. Now, I don't know what it is. Now, I know the theme. I know what area it is because you can just tell me your the month, date, and the year, and I can tell you. So that's what makes people sad. Well, let me rephrase that. Because some people, they've lied to themselves, and they honestly believe it. They will have tears running down their cheek as they're explaining to you that they like to be disrespected. But I know no man that doesn't or that wants to be disrespected by his wife or his woman. I don't know no man. Now, a lot of men do. But no man wants to be disrespected. Because again, that definition of disrespected, you've got to define it. So my brothers and my sisters, from today forward, I need you to do 3 things for me so that way you can stop disrespecting yourself. So that way you can stop casting your pearls among swine. And I've told you guys a little bit, the number 1 thing that you got to start doing right now today, when you start talking and people are not listening, stop talking. Number 1, if you are giving more energy than you're receiving, leave. Stop talking. You got the wrong audience. The number 1 way that people devalue themselves is they connect themselves with the wrong audience. Now, you could do like I did. I connected myself with the wrong audience from the perspective of I knew that I was seeking fame, money, dollars, because I did not like my design, which is I'm for the underdog. I've always been for the underdog. So even when you put yourself in situations, usually unknowingly, especially in relationships, Because depending on how the last relationship went, that determines how the next relationship is going to go. Because you're trying to avoid what happened in the last relationship, not knowing that you're going right back into the same relationship that you just got out of. You're just changing race or color or whatever. Because it's energy. People are not attracted to physicality. So your nonverbals speak way louder and more than your verbals. So when I say stop talking, that means take your energy out. Now, I do a lot of relationship counseling. And when I tell people to do this, it works so fast and so quick that people get a little nervous. What is that? Job, situation, you're talking, you're putting the energy in, you're being disrespected. How you been disrespected? Nobody's listening. So even in my current relationship, when we first started, I was going to church, I was doing everything to be liked by my in-laws and family, her family. But the word was already out. It was crazy. They had a big meeting when me and Dee met, because unbeknownst to me and her, somebody in our family, very, very close family member, we bumped heads years ago. I mean, like, bad. She was actually my supervisor and kind of did some things, and you know, they went from there. I didn't know that they were related. So the word was all out. I'm the bad guy. So what did I do? Same thing I'm telling you. I took my energy out. What does that mean? This is hard for people like me and Dr. Span. Dr. Span, you listening? We try too hard, Dr. Span. We're sixes. And everybody else was a six. I think Sister Diane Coleman, you listening? Now, you guys know this because this is what you're doing wrong. If you're a six, I already know what you're doing wrong. If you have your date of birth and it comes out to the number 6, you know what you're doing? You're trying too hard. You're a people pleaser. You walk out, you got to do what I do. You got to be hard. You got to force yourself to be evil. It's going to be rough. You're not going to like it, but watch how much money you make. Watch how much respect you get. Why? Because now what you are doing is you are loving yourself. Self-love is the best love. Stop being a doormat. Stop letting people piss on you and call it rain. It ain't rain. If somebody disrespecting you, they know what they're doing. It ain't no damn accident, especially in a marriage. Your man disrespecting you and you still, I love my baby mama. I never let him go. Man, male and women. I love my wife, but if my wife disrespects me, guess what? That's what's going to happen. I'm going to love Willie. I'm going to take care of Willie. And I got a lot of my understanding, especially in the relationship part, when I went through this stuff with my wife. I remember my sister Linda told me, boy, get your own shit. Man, that was the greatest advice I ever had in my life. You remember that, children? Why? Because I was always loving her. I was always taking care of everybody else. I've never not had, every woman I dated had children. Because I'm a 6. I just love her. I've been babysitting. I remember the first time I got to Richmond, I started babysitting. I remember babysitting sisters. It was Sandra Kay, Lola Rue, Diane. I was babysitting all their kids. I was 13. I was a kid babysitting other kids. I've been taking care of kids all my life. Why? I love people. So, Brother Travis, we got to be aware, Brother Travis, of the number one causality of our reality: a lack of self-love. Stop talking to people, man. Stop begging people to be. If people they don't see your worth and your value, leave. Now, you ain't got to physically do nothing. Take your energy out. That's it. Now, let me explain what take your energy out means. Because some people think, it's like that. I mean, just tell me, leave my marriage, brother. I've been married for 40 years. No, you ain't got to leave. You just start doing you. What does that mean? Well, take care of yourself. Ladies, get your hair done. Get your nails done. Go out to dinner with your friends. Now, I'm not telling you to do anything evil. That's what I'm talking about. I'm telling you, God loves you just as much as he loves everybody else. You want to use that term. But a lot of us, we unknowingly disrespect ourselves because we have a loss of self. We don't see no value in ourselves. So number one, whatever you put your energy into. If you go to your job and you've been working at that job, you show up early, you stay late, and you ain't getting a raise, and they disrespecting you, okay, keep the job, start sending off some resumes. Take your energy out. Ladies with your children, you got to do the same thing. That's rough. It's hard for a mother to, I didn't say stop loving them. I say stop empowering them. I say this a lot because I see it a lot. Because I talk to and I counsel a lot of people. And they're in a bad place. They feel sad. Now, I feel jovial. I feel magnanimous. Damn near every day. Even when I'm doing my detoxing and stuff like this. And it's rough because especially when when you remove all the things that you are used to, it's like anything. But there still is a feeling that comes from number two. Number one, take your energy out. In other words, if you are giving more than you're receiving, it's time to stop giving. Number two, to totally destroy sadness. Totally remove sadness. Fall in love with your process. What do I mean by fall in love? Really, I should say elevate in love. Number two is what I call process leads to improvement. Sadness is the result of day-to-day activity that is devoid of number three. So when I do counseling to people, I look in their eyes when they're talking. And I watch how their eyes, they just kind of like they're asleep while they're talking. And it's sad because this is the only life you get. One thing I loved about Shamora. And my daughter Shamora, she loved and she lived. And the biggest thing that my daughter taught me was that I was wrong with my religion, with my decisiveness, meaning I looked down on people that did not believe like I believed. Because I thought, because I cared so much, I thought it was my job to save. Honestly, I thought it was my job. And Shamora she came home, she was crying. I picked her up from the parking lot of Warren High School. My son Kennedy and Shamora have been more of my parents than I've been of theirs. Sadness is like, I was sad because I thought people were going to die and go to hell because I was religious. This is why I hate religion. And Shamora said, Shamora had a lot of LGBT friends. And I used to tell her, Shamora, why are your friends gay? She said, Dad, that's not their identity. They still people. They just like me and you. But yeah, they life choices, Shamora. I want you hanging around with those kind of people. It's Jesus Christ and Him crucified. And Shamora loved everybody. She was crying because I don't know if somebody at Warren had died, but it was gun violence basically. And Shamora knows I like guns. I still do. But Shamora was like, Dad, guns kill people. I said, Shamora, guns do not kill people. People kill people. And she was crying. And she was crying. It was like, now like, Shamora, why are you so amped up about this issue? It's like, they had a whole thing, the little kids out there marching and picking in and stuff. See, Shamora had a process. See, sadness means that your day-to-day process, when you wake up in the morning, what process do you do? What is your process? Now, I have to learn this the hard way because me and my wife's process is totally different. People ask me all the time, which is one of the reasons why we still married. Because we shouldn't be married. On paper, we have nothing in common. But the reason I married my wife is because, and the reason that we're still married, Ladies, do you remember that one word I said before? I don't know why, but my wife respects me. Now, she says she loves me. I really don't require that. I'm a man. Men don't require love. We require disrespect me, see what happens. Like, I will follow you home, bro. I don't know. That's the way most men, we're wired that way. Now, ladies got to be loved. Men got to be respected. Otherwise, they're going to be sad. Now, it took me a long time to figure this out. Because I've been in relationships where I was loved, but I was not respected. Now, I don't have time to break down what that means, but basically, like, ladies, do you admire your man? I've heard ladies tell me, like, this new generation of ladies, damn, especially black ladies, it's crazy. I tell the man what to do, and the man better. No, it ain't got to be that. It has to be with acceptance. It has to be with admiration. It has to be with approval, encouragement. Like, really, black men, we can't get that at work. I can't go to work and be valued. I should, but a lot of times it's just, boy, go over there and pick up the box. That's why I work for myself. So, number 2, to totally remove sadness out of your life, examine your process. See, most of us, we have a process that activates the dormant memories that's hidden inside of the amygdala and the hypothalamus that are sad. And there are certain things that trigger that sadness because it reminds you of an event that is sad. So I did not allow myself to turn Shimura into a martyr and make me sad when I think about her, when I talk about her. It didn't just come like easy. I mean, it was a process. I went through the you know, I didn't go through the 5 stages of grieving that they talk about in dominant culture psychology, but I did grieve the loss. Trust and believe that. Still do. Sometimes I'm just driving and it just hits. I just pull over. Like, I was at the gym and I saw a girl look exactly like Shimura. I mean, it was crazy. I went outside, got in my car, and cried like a newborn baby. Then, went home, got back in my process. Process leads to improvement. People that are sad, they don't have a process that is based upon number 3. Do you guys remember what I said yesterday? Was it yesterday's class? I think it was yesterday's class. And yesterday's class, you know, we talked about a lot of stuff. But I said, why are light workers? Why do nice people struggle financially? You guys know what I said? The number one thing I said that nice reason they struggle financially is because they're not a sacred site. That simply means that, according to Dr. Robert Beck, according to Dr. Michael Persinger, according to Dr. Raymond Rife, Jethro Kloss, your brain waves, your ELF waves, they are not in a state of excitement. Now, nobody can stay at that state all the time. But your daily routine, your process should activate the brain waves. What does that mean? Because wealth is a feeling. It's not a destination. It's the process that leads to the destination. So sad people do not have a process that they wake up to in the morning that they feel magnanimous. So I just created that for myself. Now, remember, it took me 50 years to get here. So I'm not saying it's going to be, you get it overnight. You know, it may take you a little while. But first of all, you got to find yourself. Because what you've been told to is a lie. That's not who you really are. Like, who I really am, I'm really, really in my core, I'm a 6. Like God, that's where God made me. But what does that mean, though? That's just a number. Well, that number has attributes. It has characteristics. So if you go to Google and you type in life path number 6 or your life path number, those attributes and characteristics, that's who you are. You are not a Christian. You're not a Buddhist. You're not a Muslim. So that's what Shimura taught me. Shimura taught me that, hey, Dad, you got a lot of crap that you identify with that ain't got shit to do with you. You should stop doing it. Thankfully, my wife allows me to do that. Otherwise, our marriage wouldn't work. So you should do the same thing for someone else, which is one thing. I mean, which means what? That's the thing that I love from my son Kendrick. Like, my son Kendrick got a lot of friends that I wouldn't like. I remember one time he went out to the woods with some of his friends, and I asked him before he went, Kendrick, you sure that they're my friends? Like, I got friends too, but I want to go out in the middle of the woods with them, and, and go camping. Say, no, they're my friends. So what does it mean? Trust. People, remember I said yesterday where people buy from? People do not buy, there's three types of people in the world. Remember I said yesterday? Funny people, gifted, talented people, and trustworthy people. People buy from people they trust. You don't have a routine that you trust. People who are sad, clinically sad, chemically, the brain releases chemicals whenever you are doing something that is not your vibrational equivalent. So let me get this right. You are a rocket scientist, but you working at a veterinarian office because they pay good money, Doc. They pay me good money. I do this for a living. I talk to people and say, man, why you work there? I got a client right now, that this girl should be in Hollywood. Literally, she should be in Hollywood. She's young, she's beautiful, she's outgoing, very, very intelligent. I'm talking like MIT level. Like she graduated from a very, very, very prestigious school, comes from a family of money and all of this stuff. And right now she's living off of mom and dad money, which, I mean, when you're young, because this is, again, a young person, I think 26, 27. But I think she's on boyfriend number 6 or 7. And they just drag. I mean, I'm talking about, why? She has no worth. Why? It's been devalued. Why? She's been drugged through so many bad relationships that all of these dudes, they don't say it with their mouth, but they say it with their energy. I keep telling you guys, if somebody is not energetically connected to you when you're talking, and when you show up and when you're around, stop showing up. Stop talking. Stop going around them. They don't like you. Now they tell you, every time you show up, they say, hey, man, they high five you and then everything. Then behind your back, you're getting an energy jab. And you don't know because you're not paying attention. See, attention is not free. You got to pay for it. All my sadness, I remember, this shit I'm talking to you today, man, I wish I was making it up. I don't know if y'all understand my childhood. Now, I've said the stories 1,000 times, man. My kids tell me, yeah, Dad, we know, please, no, we don't want to hear it anymore. So I'm going to bore you guys with details, but all I'm simply saying is that it's a miracle that I'm here today talking to you right now. Because my life sucked until I freaking did something about it. And what did I do? I did exactly what I'm telling you. I developed an awareness of self to replace the awareness of sadness. I had an awareness of sadness because I was in an environment that was just sad. Because my mom died and I went to a place. I knew my dad didn't love me because he locked me out of my house every day. I come home, he in bed, should be locked up in there. And I stand in the door and I'm like, damn, I know I live here. I look through the window. I see him in bed, Sue, and they chase each other around. So I know I'm at the right house. Look at the address. And my dad said, boy, go somewhere and play. So I would leave and I would come back. The door would still be locked. And then when I did get in there, the nigga treated me like I was a leper. And I said, I look just like him. I think I am his son. But then I go over to MJ's house. Shit, they treated me like I was a celebrity. I packed my shit and I moved out at 13. The greatest decision I've ever made in my life. Go where you are respected. Number 3, brothers and sisters, you want to get out of sadness? See, don't hang out with Negroes that tolerate you. Hang out with Negroes that elevate you. Y'all better stop playing. This is not a game. You are going and hanging out with people. They say you're friends because you bring something to the table, your energy. Do you know the energy vampires in this planet? There are people walking around, they are devoid. They don't have the ability to generate, operate, and direct. So they need you. You are high vibrational like keep it on. That's why you got friends. But none of your friends can generate their own energy. Y'all ever notice that you got people that are not creative? Like my son B. Jola and Kendrick, they got together and all the songs I play, these knuckleheads wrote it from scratch. They are linguistical assassins. Both of them. I hated that I was not able to figure it out before he went into the Navy. But at the same time, I know the Navy is going to give him some of the discipline and some of the other stuff that he needs. Because out of all my children, Kendrick is the only one, BJ was the only one that I used to bump heads with because he was just disrespectful. But he don't know he don't know he's disrespectful. Now, he do know it, but he don't know it. He know it, but he don't know that he could lose his life by doing it. He don't know it. He don't know. But when he goes to come back from the Navy, they gonna get him right. Because the Marine Corps, I was just like my son BJ. That's why I give him grace. Now my son Kendrick, I don't think I ever whooped my son Kendrick. I'm trying to think. Damn, nope. I don't think Kendrick is like he's like a gentle giant. Total, both they brothers. Same mama, same daddy. The dispositions is night and day. That's why I can tell you guys there is no blanket prescription when it comes to the science of the self. You have to have your own self map. Brothers and sisters, please, I'm begging you, go where you are celebrated and elevated. Only, let me say it again. I love everybody, but I know everybody don't love me, and that's okay too. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I understand. Even some of you guys here, I mean, not like me. I just like, I just listen to the message, Doc, because, you know, got good information. I understand. Nothing wrong with it. But when it comes to your happiness, do not put the keys to your happiness in somebody else's pocket. Keep them firmly in your own pocket. Stop, or rephrase that. Number one, if you really want to be happy, you got to understand that there are things that are happening that make you feel disappointed, dejected, sad, grief, and despair. Those are the 5 emotions that activate chemicals inside of the body that leads to what is called depression. If you do not handle your sadness today, you will have depression tomorrow. So based upon the science of the chemistry and the psychology, there is a loss of value. Something is devaluing you. And so you are devaluing yourself. You have to identify what is causing my devaluation. The thing that is causing your devaluation is your perception. Your perception of something that happened or a person. Like I tell you guys with my daughter Shamura. If I wasn't smart enough to separate and see that when Shamura transitioned, it wasn't a loss of myself. Shamura is an extension of myself. But Shamura is her own individual. All my children are not mine. I didn't create them. God did. That is the difference between ownership and management, as we talked about in Module 1. People who are sad, they are trying to own other people, other places, and other things, instead of just manage it. You're supposed to manage your energy. You're not supposed to own it. Ownership creates liability. Liability means a lie about your ability. Liability. You have to stop trying to own people. See, I used to try to own my children. Like in my brain, I like to say, they mine. Like I want to be little Willie. So my sons was like, no, especially my son Kendrick was like, Dad, I like you, appreciate you, bro, but I ain't you. And when I tell my son, I said, Kendrick is a handsome dude. I think when he was in high school, I said, Kendrick, go out there and get them digits out. I'm good at that. Kendrick went to college, I said, Kendrick, get them digits, homie. Knock them down. Dad, why do I do that? I'm not going to go out and have sex with somebody if I'm not interested in marrying them. What? Who your daddy? He has his own brain. So what I have to do? Let him go. It's not my job. Because if I try to make him into me, and if he wasn't, then we're going to bump heads, and then that's going to what? That's going to make me feel sad. So a lot of us, now again, that's maybe, that's like a kind of a comical example, but what's the point? The point is the same. Stop putting energy into things that's not putting energy into you. It should be give. It should be a two-way street. Number 2, change your process. I have a specific process. Do you guys know that anytime I notice that my money is not coming in as fast as it used to be, you know what I do? I go back to my process. What is my process? Organic marketing. What is organic marketing? I start posting more stuff on Facebook. Y'all see how much stuff I've been posting on Facebook? I did 3 shows yesterday. I'm going to do 3 shows today. I'm going to do like 5. I did like 5 TikTok videos yesterday. I'm on YouTube. Why? Every time I do that, I start making more money. That's my process. Now, so I don't take out ads. I could pay. You know, remember I paid to do $5,000 and got ads and it worked. But I like having the $5,000 in my pocket. Now the $5,000, you know, made me, let's say, $6,000 or $7,000, but it took time, it took work, it took effort, and more importantly, I put my keys to my happiness in somebody else's pocket. I don't like that feeling because I teach this for a living. So I was taking my money, remember, unrealistic expectations, misplaced dependencies. So my process of generating capital cannot be dependent upon you. If it is, I'm taking my keys to my happiness and putting it in my pocket. I already did that. That shit did not come out well. Not for me anyway. So guess what? I don't do that. So I got a process that every time, health-wise, like right now I'm doing my detox. Why? I got up to 280 pounds, 285 in fact. And the wife was like, oh, honey, you look good. But I noticed, I was like, man, I get little rashes on my skin. My vision was starting to like, and now my vision is coming back. And this is only day 2, and I've already dropped a good 10 pounds. But what did I just stop eating sugar? Stop eating carbs. Went back to my 2-a-day workouts. Why? Because I know if I just what happens if I keep going? Then I could end up with a preventable disease that could cause my health. So I got a process. So I don't deviate from my process or I'll be sad. That's where I'm going. So do you got a process? If not, we need to get together. And we got to develop you a process. You should have a process in place. You should have a step-by-step system that every day you wake up, I wake up, bam, first thing I do is I make up my bed. Why? Based upon science and statistics, the brain says, hey, we accomplished something today. We just got up, man, 5 o'clock in the morning. We're already winning. Win, no matter what. So my brain says, we're winning. Then I get up and I brush my teeth. The brain says, ding, ding, ding. Chalk up another one for Brother Will. Then I go work out. Let my brain be like, oh, look at him. Do you know what success is? Success is a habit that gets frequently repeated, that leads to a lifestyle that turns into a destiny. That's success. So you need a process that you have in place. Every day I go, I get my key. My wallet is in the same spot every day. I park my car in the same garage. I put my keys in the same spot. I take my shoes off and put them in the same spot. I put my dirty clothes in the same basket. I do my laundry. I have a freaking routine, and I only change my routine when it is not working. So I'll develop a routine in areas of wealth, health, wisdom, and relationships. Those routines I do every day. And guess what it do? It brings me to number 3. Excitement. Go where you are celebrated and elevated, not where you are tolerated. So I do not do routines that just tolerate me. Meaning, when I was at 285 pounds, my body was just tolerating that extra weight. My body was like, we don't like this. I could tell because I could not. That was the first time I experienced, and I told you guys I was doing it for a family member. I couldn't tie my shoes. You know, and that's the stuff that he used to say. He used to say, well, you don't know what it feels like to be obese, brother. You've always been in shape. Really? Okay, well, let me check it out. So I tried it, and I understand it. So now I can go back and I can tell him, why do you choose to stay? It's not that. Take your energy out. What does that mean? Stop eating. Start exercising. Brothers and sisters, sadness is when you are doing stuff that doesn't value yourself. Now, it may value somebody else, but it doesn't value you. Self-love is the best love. Anybody want to be happy today? You want to be happy. Bad thoughts are going to come. Bad events happen. Some days, every Mother's Day, everybody else talks about, hey, mama. I ain't got no mama. So my brain can play tricks on me on Mother's Day. Shamore's every time, June 30th rolled around. That could be a bad day. My biological father, when he passed, that could be a bad day. I don't allow it to be bad days. Why? Because I do not allow my brain to go back and cause me toxic shame. I do not allow myself to experience emotional drain. I only do high vibrational shizness. I make sure that I do, number one, I'm always in the highest state of excitement. I make sure that I'm always connected to myself, authentic. And number three, I make sure that I'm always conscious that I am unconscious. I always ask myself, hey, what are we doing today? Like right now, I'm noticing, why are you still talking? The show's too long. It's been more than an hour. So my brain is telling me right now, I'm conscious that, hey, you need to be conscious of the fact that you've been talking, people have other things to do, bro. So what? Time to shut up. So, brothers and sisters, I love you. Appreciate you. We're going to see you guys at the top. God bless.